Hey there, monkeys. Grab that cup of coffee, kick back, and relax. We'll get started with a SITREP in just a minute. Hey folks, Mil-Spec Ops Monkey here. Let's talk prepping for a minute. When things go south in civilization, the last thing you want to do is have to get out in that to try and get food for you or for your family. It is unsafe, and it is just a bad situation overall. And so listen, we have an amazing program going with My Patriot Supply. They are an American company, American-based. Everything is made in the USA. And they have a special program going with Werx. If you head over to monkeyworksprep.com, that'll take you to this landing page. And the current deal that they have going right now, if you want to get this stuff for you and your family, or if you just want to actually add to your quiver, this $80 off a 4-week food kit supply going right now. That is 2,000 calories a day, 16 different varieties with a 25-year shelf life. And these meal kits actually, they provide breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, snacks. You won't get tired of eating it. It's really, really good food. And oh, by the way, that is less than $3 a meal, which you can't even get that just trying to feed yourself on any regular day. It's crazy unless you want to eat ramen forever. But also, this kit actually comes with free shipping and handling, which you throw that in for 38 pounds coming your way. And you're saving quite a bit. So anyway, that's monkeyworksprep.com, monkeyworksprep.com. And you'll be glad that you did this. God bless. Monkey out. All right. Hey, welcome, folks. Mil-Spec Ops Monkey here. We're going to get into our show right now. We've got a lot going on in the skies, a lot of stuff happening all around the world. And so as we head into this holiday weekend, it is just a constant reminder that we are in a fight against tyranny, and it is not going to go away. That is one thing for certain. And I got a lot of noises going on around me. I forgot to turn down my scanner, and then of course I've got the mosquito hunters are out killing pterodactyls here in the backyard today. So if you hear any kind of noises, I do apologize in advance. So anyway. Let's do this. Let's hop over here to the mini board. Let's kind of get into what's going on out there. But this is a really light day. We kind of expect that. We're headed into the 4th of July tomorrow. Tonight, many of the celebrations are taking place. And as always, just stay vigilant. There is just too many things going on in the world right now for us to be just walking around there with our heads in the clouds, right? So just stay safe. You know, as I always say, stay frosty. And let's get kind of into the numbers here. 23 is our number for today, which is staggering amount of aircraft up. Most of them look to be, for the most part, looks like we got one E6 out here, several NAs, some C-17s on the move. But again, very, very light day. It may kick up a little bit. If we were to just shred it by air refuelers, we got three. I misrepresented that one. We've got 3 air refuelers up on that side. Let's look at the Pegasus, and I don't even see any 767s up. It only looks to be this little gentleman right here, just kind of buzzing around. Looks like one coming back into the country. Notice the call sign on that is a reach. So remember, these are multi-purpose, so they can carry cargo, they can do refueling. This one is rolling back in, and it looks to be carrying cargo. This one is really the only one that we see right now over the U.S., and it's up over the northern side of the United States. And let's do this. I'm going to just for the heck of it, let's go over here to Europe and see if we've got anything going on this side of it. And it looks like just one air refueler up U.S., just to the left side or to the western side of the Black Sea right here. Keep in mind, this is Ukraine over on this side, okay? All right, with that, let's get into our watch list. It is actually a little more busy than anything else we've got going on. Now, notice what I'm pointing out here. These are all survey birds, all right? So we got a lot of survey aircraft up right now. That PC-12 may not be one, but everything else is. 1E6, remember that's attack mode. Take charge and move out is the acronym. All survey birds right here. We get over to this side. Notice we've got 4 mil intel balloons. Yeah, enemy of the state, doing a little bit of gathering on its citizenry. And then we get down into Florida, and it's just kind of a mix of bad or bag of mixed tricks. There we go. And this, a lot of NAs, which I find interesting. But notice the B-350s, probably going to be either NOAA or Homeland Security. And then there are some surveys still down there, and some surveys up in the Northeast, as well as over the left side of, it looked to be Minnesota, you know, right over the breadbasket, actually. Okay, now we've got that one was a survey. That's going to be German intel at 62,700 feet. And there's actually 4 of those up. We just don't see the others. They like to disappear on us. And then a little British R-135 up, looking at stuff out in Belarus as well as Russia. We'll talk more about that here in a minute because that is actually pertinent. And that looks to be, let's see, we'll go down to Australia just to check it out down under. Nothing. All right, let's look at the intel birds. Again, very light. We do have a Q4 drone, looks to be off that southern area, just off. Now, this is the last 3 days. And a little bit of a move there south of Tucson, which looks to be just regular aircraft, intel aircraft. And then this I believe, is Brio 68, getting a hard look at some folks in Virginia and over Delaware, where Flashbang resides most of the time. Now, he's not there right now, but then we get over here to Europe. And then again, we're going to see another very close look into Belarus, up around Kaliningrad, over Latvia. Remember, we've got some stuff getting ready to take shape with NATO in that region here as well very soon. Running to the left side of Moldova, and then right there in Bucharest. There we go. And it looked like they are in Romania looking at some stuff. And then look at this over Amman, Jordan. Over Jordan, actually, the entirety of Jordan. Got some intel going on there. There has been a pickup of something happening in that state. I don't know what it is, but definitely something is up there because they are very active. We've got troop movements going into that location. And then notice this one too. We've got, looks like something rolling out of Newcastle and headed north. And then, of course, we lose the trace line on that, so it basically disappears on us. And then this up here in Philippines, right? So that's going to be your intel. Let's talk surveys. While we're down under, we got some stuff going on over here in Perth, down in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane. Same thing. We'll kick it down to the side a little bit and take a little head on the swivel there. They just continue to gather stuff. Now, if I were an Australian, I would definitely be paying attention because we know how things can get there very quickly, especially when everybody was in lockdown. All right, and then that's our military base right there in Poznan. But there's Poland, looking at some stuff in Poland. And then we've got more stuff. Sorry, this is survey. Yeah, we are talking surveys. So, but yeah, Netherlands, Belgium, over towards Milan, Italy. Notice I didn't have anything over the water this time. And then looks like a little bit of a transition in Texas. And then we go kind of westbound. We head over to Los Angeles. Notice this here close to the California-Arizona border. and we head up the state, very, very active and busy, all the way up the state of California into Oregon. And then we're going to just kind of skip over here and we'll take a gander. Yeah, I am on the screen twice, so I don't know. Maybe I recorded myself. Yeah, check that out. That's Alaska for some strange reason. And yeah, there's somebody behind me. It's kind of spooky, isn't it? Actually, look at me creeping over my shoulder. Is that Biden behind me? No, it's good. All right. Anyway, we just, yeah, you can see the surveys continue. Yeah, that is kind of creepy, isn't it? I don't know what I did this morning. I've had a lot going on in here. This looks like they're looking at rivers here. That does look kind of Biden-y behind me, doesn't it? All right, let's get away from that. Oh, man, I'll have to fix that next time. Okay, so let's, all right, let's get into this same. These are the Ruskies. I'm just going to point out, notice they're headed down into the Middle East, around the Black Sea, into where it looks to be where our troops kind of hang out there in that general area. And let's do that one more time so I can just, let me hit refresh on that because I want to talk to this. Okay, notice that's over in Romania, all right? Notice in Germany. What are they up to? Where are they headed? Then we get down here a little further south. They're headed, it's a broken trace there, headed down towards Qatar and UAE. So, yeah, anyway, that's going to be your Ruskies. A little active, a little busy, kind of some strange things going on there. We'll talk about that more in the news. And then we take a gander at the drones and just notice we got a lot of broken traces headed out over the Black Sea. Looks like we are over that area quite a bit, quite frequently right now. And then, yeah, let's out north of Benghazi. We'll talk about that a little more as well, because we've got some stuff going on in Libya and in that general area. So we'll just pay close attention to that. All right. Again, these are going to be your drones. And we'll take a look here. And nothing, which is really strange. Don't see that very often. Get down further south into Australia. Now, I did just catch something here. Let's scoot back up here to this area. I want to see if we can get little eyes on this. We've had a U.S. military drone doing a lot of things in this particular area between Sri Lanka and the southern side of India. So this has been quite busy in recent weeks. We just haven't really looked at it closely. All right. So, okay. Now over to the R-135s. The only thing I have from an R-135 perspective, which is really odd, is kicking out over Okinawa, headed up, probably looking here at North Korea, if I had to guess. We know they're probably not looking at Japan. Okay. And then let's go over to the sub hunters. And we've got one that's out in this general area. It looks to be a P-8, and it's kind of out over the Baltic Sea in and out of what looks to be Latvia. And then we get over a little further. We have a lot of P-8s that are based out of Iceland. That's the one that came in out of Iceland, bypassed the UK to take out the Nord Stream. And then we get down here. So nothing in Australia from a P-8 perspective. Get over here to CONUS. But yeah, the P-8s are very aloof. They're hard to track. Their hex codes don't always register in databases. They seem to be very agency-centric related in some of the stuff that they do. Okay. All right. Got one kicking out over the Gulf of Mexico and then up here off of, looks like, the coast of North Carolina. All right. And then a little bit of trace here headed northbound. But that is going to do it for the sub hunters. Let's get back over here to our mini board and we'll delve in here. Okay, so let's take a quick gander as we get into a couple things. We're going to look at the radar first. These fires that you see on here are large fires. I believe they're over 10,000 acres. All right, notice these are power outages down right along the border here also down towards the border. Quite a bit of power outages up here around St. Louis and Missouri, or is that Missouri? And then we get up here. Just this is the main big takeaway from this aspect is the fact that Flashbang is still hanging out in the bunker. All right, him and his CPAP machine are just camping out all weekend. Don't see him going anywhere else but there. Well, that just tells us keep your eyes on what's going on over in Russia. Probably trying to figure out how they're going to get their $6.2 billion back from the Wagner Group that looks to have potentially played our DOD and CIA in Ukraine. So, let's kind of get into that aspect of it because that is where it starts to get really, really interesting. So I'm going to go back over to this. I want to point out, I'm going to hit refresh on it just for the heck of it to see if it does pull up. But so far today, it has not. For some reason, the public schedule is blank, which I don't see that very often. Even though it's a holiday weekend, maybe somebody's not doing what they need to do, but it stops on Friday and nothing else. So I don't know, maybe a slight oversight, or they're trying not to give his schedule out. All right, let's get over to Breitbart. This is just, as we talk about Flashbang and his CPAP. Glass bottling company lays off hundreds after the Bud Light implosion. So, yes, there you go. When don't go chasing waterfalls, folks. This right here is, it happens, man. You made your bed, you lie in it, but it has implications. And so it looks like, hundreds of people, that's quite a big layoff amount. And it looks like 600 employees in the wake of the fallout over Bud Light's partnership with the transgender TikTok influencer. So anyway, there you have it. But it's just the way it goes. It's the way the cookie crumbles. All right, let's get over here to this side of it. I don't think we will ever get to the 2024 election. This is coming from a Colonel Douglas, retired Colonel McGregor, as he warns. Now, the interesting piece to this is that, let me get back up here to the big takeaway. So he states that he thinks things will implode in Washington before the election and that the economy will collapse, which will result in massive unrest starting in the major cities and spilling out into the suburbs. Now, if you live in the suburbs, that is some alarming information. So you want to make sure that you definitely have a plan should something like that take place, right? We always talk about understanding your area of operation, what's going on around you, how far out are you from the bad areas, right? And so you want to make sure that you definitely have your house in order, right? Have everything squared away so that, if this thing does go to what he's predicting, that you are not a victim, all right? Okay, and again, that right there, what he just says is why I think we are watching the survey flights do what they are doing. I think they're mapping a battlefield all the way down to the waterways and the highways, all right, because you have to be able to control the spillover, right? And if things get hot and they start to expand, you've got to contain them, and you're going to have, like we always say, 72 hours to do it, right? 72 to animal. That's when people start getting crazy after about 72 hours. Must be the shortage of water and food. I don't know. But anyway, that's what's going on there. So let's move on over to the next item here. Again, Zero Hedge. As we talk about this violence that's going on around the world, this one here, France is in a crisis for the fifth night as violence spreads into neighboring countries. Now, this Trump actually made a speech about this 7 years ago, but what's happened is the police killed a North African kid, and it's gone hot, right? And so they're saying that some of the other bordering countries in Europe are starting to also see the unrest. So it just goes to show you, when you start talking about Matthew 24, you start talking about the love of many will grow cold. That is the world that we seem to be breaching into at this point, where we see this take shape more and more and more frequently. All right. Okay, let's get on over to the next piece of this, which I found interesting. And actually, we're going to hit this piece because this is actually tied to it. So evidently, Emmanuel Macron was caught on video dancing at an Elton John concert as fiery riots ravage through France. And I don't see him dancing. Thankfully, yeah, it did not. So we will save your eyes from that hot mess, as we like to say. But anyway, okay. Now back over here to this piece as we talk a little bit more about the stuff that's going on. What's happened in France? They say the reason for it being out of control is because of the migration issues, right? They said that the immigrants that have come into France have caused this. They are the ones that are rioting right now, and it's because of poor immigration policies there. Okay, so that brings us here to Texas. You've got several things going on. This one, first and foremost, you've got a Border Patrol agent cutting a Texas border barrier and letting migrants enter the system. This is at Eagle Pass. Of course, this is that razor wire that is there that was put into play by Operation Lone Star by Governor Greg Abbott. And yeah, it's just not good. Here's the video of it. Let me make sure that the sound, well, we'll hit it and there we go. And you can see him cutting the wire to let people through. And, I do see some kids or a young mom and some kids on that side of it. But I would imagine that guy probably doesn't have a job anymore if Abbott sees this video. So nonetheless, yeah, it looks like a family that's getting through there. But, yeah, not good. Okay. Anyway, I say not good. I get it. I understand why they're trying to come across the border. They want a better life for their family. But you have to assume, one, is it their kid? Is it their family? Because we do know that they will basically bring kids with them to get into the country. And it's not really their kids. So let's see. Let's go over to this piece of it. Migrant asylum entries increased by 50%. That's since May 12th under Biden's phone app. Now, we did talk about this, and it looks like these guys are actually using it to get across the border. So the numbers that they have increased were from $1,250 per day to $1,450 per day. So let's go take a look at the flights and see how that is shaping up. And this a little concerning, given the fact that I only see one airplane on there, and given the fact that it looks to be coming from Detroit to San Jose. And yeah, maybe they're all in between cycling, or maybe they're just not flying today. We will see. But yeah, there is where we are. And we back it up a little bit. Looks like you've got one leaving out of, let's see here, Punta Cana, headed to San Juan, Puerto Rico. Okay. All right. That's a very light day. Okay. Hey, let's talk about this for a minute. Oil prices climb as Saudi Arabia extends production cut into August. Now, remember that Flashbang was actually talking about at 1.6 months ago that when the oil prices got below $70 a barrel, he would take action to replenish the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which is at an all-time low. I think we have about 18 days of reserve now, which is, it's pretty scary to think about that. But it is now, they're saying because of this latest cut, it's around 82 and going up. So they're saying that price is rising by 1%. So that happened overnight. And yeah, that's where we are. But keep in mind, too, there is a lot of play going on right now because, you've got the BRIC countries starting to trade and actually pay for oil in a different currency, getting away from the petrodollar. And so this is probably just all part of leveraging the United States. All right, let's move on. Okay, let's talk NOTAMs for a minute. Now, I showed you that Flashbang and his CPAP is up here, right up here. Okay, so he's in his bunker up at Camp David. And then we've got a lot of stuff going on here down the East Coast. Most of these are danger boxes. There is some stuff going on out here. We do have an exercise that is over Kennedy Space Center. It is tied to a laser, some type of laser activity But from a military perspective, as you get off the coastline, it is not, and it is a mil op. So we're going to look at that closer right now. Let me find this on here. This will kind of give you a flavor. And you can see a couple KC-135s out there dancing around. They're around 21,000 feet. But here, this right here is, we're going to just hit pause for a second. Just notice this says that altitude reservation tailhook F for military ops. They're all being coordinated out of Miami Center. That's going to be your air traffic control center that they're talking about. Will not approve IFR, that's instrument flight rating, flight, or VFR, that's visual flight rating, should exercise extreme caution. Okay, so, but you can see as we look at that, there is quite a bit going on there. A lot of, those are all three air refuelers that are out over that general area. So that would indicate you got fighters up over the area and whatever else is happening. But that was yesterday, by the way, late yesterday. Okay. Now we get back over to the mini and we look at this particular area. You can see this exercises or this operation, this mil op, is continuing to take place out here. What it is, I don't know, but we should exercise extreme caution. Okay, anyway, we've got another box that wraps around here. This is probably tied to CBP, if I had to guess. Customs and Border Patrol, and then just the usual suspects. It looks very, very light. Notice that the boxes off the west coast of California are gone now. This one down here is now no longer in effect. We'll see if it comes back. These are fireboxes and more fireboxes. All right, let's get away from the U.S. and let's get into, well, before I do that, I do want to point one other thing out real fast because since we're over water, this is kind of an interesting data point for you. Now, I'm going to hit pause periodically here because I need to be able to kind of segue you into this. The important takeaway from all of this is the fact that notice right now, okay, the green cargo, the little red dots that you see are oil, okay? That's oil tankers, cargo ships. Now, what you're seeing right here on the screen, the gray stuff is landmass, the black is water, all right? The green and red are ships. Notice the quantity of ships along Asia, all right? All along Asia. I'll back it up just a skosh here. Notice how many ships are along the Asian Pacific side of the house, okay? Very, very active, very busy. Now, watch what happens when we get over to the United States West Coast, inside the Gulf, up the East Coast. Notice the volume of ships, how they are basically gone. If I look at the statistical data tied to the ships going up and down the East Coast, none of them are coming to the United States or very little are, okay? So we're going to transition on over. Notice the volume. Again, very, very busy. Here's a little flow. Notice where the flow goes, right past the United States, southern Baja into across through the Panama Canal. And then of course, we have the look at the rest of the world, okay? So we do this again. Sorry, I put this on loop because I'm going to talk to it for a minute. Again, California, notice that. Very, very little up the West Coast, very little up the East Coast, a lot of stuff off the coast. We get over here, look at the coast of Africa, very active, busy. Into Europe, extremely busy. Okay, do you see the difference here? You get down towards India, very, very active and busy. And then here's Asia, all right? China, Japan. Again, back over here, look at the difference, right? Do you see that? It is very, very, very light along the West Coast. That is because stuff is not coming to the United States. It's bypassing us. And that is, I'm telling you, I've been saying this for a while now, but the Chinese put the nail in our coffin probably a year and 2, 3, 4 months ago, okay? And it has not come back on. The things that we see that we are able to get are being flown over here, and there's limited cargo coming into the country. So when it comes to the medicines, antibiotics, vitamin C, all the stuff that we typically get from China that we bring into our pharmaceutical stuff, we're flying it over, okay? Because the margins are so high, they can afford to fly it, all right? So now do notice this. Notice the export when we get here into the Gulf of Mexico. Look at all the red coming in and out of the Gulf of Mexico, Texas, Louisiana, all right? That is because we're the number one exporter of oil in the world, yet our strategic petroleum reserve is at an all-time low. That doesn't make any sense. All right, so that is going to cover that aspect of it. I just wanted to show you. I pulled the data. I just didn't want to forget it, but it tells the story, right? Okay, let's get away from the NOTAM side. Let's get over here and talk about Poland and what's going on here. Poland is sending hundreds of counterterrorism police to Belarus border on Wagner fears, right? They are, this is kind of crazy. If you look at the picture. Now, keep in mind, the Wagner group they're saying about 8,000 in Belarus, okay? Most of they're mercenaries, all right? Why are they so scared? 8,000, but look at what they put and look how they're staging them. They've got soldiers and military going down this razor wire all the way through, all right? All the way across the border there. And they're saying they put an additional 500 police officers from elite counterterrorism and riot control units to the border. I don't know what they're expecting, but if you've got 8,000 mercenaries, 500 against 8,000 is probably not going to go well. But let's see here. Okay, Polish officials have confirmed there are currently 5,000 security guards, 2,000 soldiers at the border of Belarus. Okay, 7,000 versus 8,000 from the Wagner group. You may have a chance, a fighting chance there. But they have been verified. As they say, there are over 300 tent-like structures erected in the past 2 weeks. All right. So let that sink in for a minute. We know that the Wagner group just tried a coup last weekend. So they were already building tents for a place for these guys to go 2 weeks ago. That's a very interesting data point, isn't it? So I mentioned earlier that remember, the Pentagon just miraculously found $6.2 billion to go over to Ukraine, right? And then all of a sudden we have, following a couple of days later, you have this coup attempt that looks like was being staged. Now that you kind of let the dust settle and figure all this out. None of these guys, if they were really trying to coup, I think Putin would have probably had every one of them executed. The fact that he hasn't maybe tells you that our agency and our State Department, et cetera, as well as the DOD and Pentagon got played. So this is, I think, kind of comical in the fact that 2 weeks before these guys started headed to Belarus, they're already building tents for them. So that tells you that this stuff was all being planned, all right? And the Pentagon was probably trying to figure out how can we come up with the money to pay these guys to do a coup against Russia. Now all of a sudden they all have the money, they've been paid, and they're going to use it to fight back against the United States. Wow, that's pretty crazy if that is how it all went down. Okay, here we go. Poland wants to host NATO nukes to counter Russia. Yeah, they went in on the biz. And so you can see you got an F-16 here, and then you've got one sitting out in front. Pretty interesting. This we've got nukes. As you kind of go through the story here, there are nukes all over Europe. Now Poland wants to get their hands on a couple as a deterrent because obviously you've got Russia putting nukes into Belarus. There just seems to be on a daily basis an escalation on both sides. It just continues to escalate. So I don't see anything standing down, and it's just going to get to a point where, it's just going to pop. It's a powder keg. So yeah, now we're don't be surprised if we see nukes going into Poland, and that would be bad. So anyway, Here's more data points for you. Now, you may remember we were watching in our last SITREP, I believe it was Friday, we were showing the fact that there were a lot of drone and intel flights, as well as, I think, R-135s flying just off the coastline in the Mediterranean of Libya and Benghazi, Tripoli, that whole area, right? Well, then all of a sudden, we have drone strikes that hit a Wagner base. I didn't even know the Wagner group was in Libya, but this is coming from a military source, and it looks like these strikes, they happened overnight, about 90 miles southwest of Benghazi, but they don't know who did it, and that's the big thing. They're trying to blame it on some unrecognized government that's divided into Libya. So, anyway, not a surprise. I think we probably know who was behind that. Probably mad because they took all their money. But anyway, let's move on. Okay, UK says NATO should consider skipping the standard application for Ukraine. This is important. And the reason it is important is because you have to remember Ukraine was not allowed into NATO because of their level of corruption. So let that sink in for a minute. They're not allowed to go and be a part of NATO because they are so corrupt that NATO says not going to happen, okay? Now we're starting to say, maybe we let them in. Well, keep in mind, too, that NATO has a policy. If you take on one of us, you take on all of us, right? It's kind of that whole where we go one, we go all, right? We've heard that before. But they're saying here, they're suggesting now that NATO should consider bypassing the membership action plan, also known as the MAP, required for Ukraine's accession to the alliance. The MAP ensures aspiring members meet political, economic, and military standards. Skipping the MAP would expedite Ukraine's membership if formally invited by NATO, all right? So you've already got countries trying to get these guys in. Again, the reason that they're not allowed in is because they are the most corrupt country in the world, and that they just haven't been allowed because of that. Now, remember, and think about this for a minute. You've got the most corrupt country in the world, Ukraine, that we are sending money to hand over fist. We're giving them everything they need to fight a war against Russia. And it's because that is our stronghold. That is where our agency has been set up. Like I've mentioned multiple times, 1948, we started putting assets in play. You had a whole team of guys that were referred to as the apostles. They were working with a group called the UPA. That is what we call today, it's a modern day Antifa. But anyway, that should just kind of resonate with you for a minute. The fact that we are pumping all that money into a country that isn't even allowed into the NATO because of their corruption, and your tax dollars are going in hand over fist. So there you go. All right, let's get over and take a look at the bases and see what we've got going on. Nothing at Biggs today. Very, very quiet. Not a shocker. Let's get over to Dover. We've got one Coletta 747 coming in from JFK. Looks to be headed to Ramstein from there. And in fact, it's already en route. So when we get over here to the Ramstein here in just a minute, we should see that on the board. Again, we've got two camber flights up, one 747, one 777. One of them's coming out of Sofia, and that is in Bulgaria. And then the other here is, looks like it's near St. Paul Island up here in Alaska that it just took off. It's already leveled off at 35,000 feet and cruising at 565 miles an hour. That's one of your 747s, okay? All right. Then we get over here. This is going to be Ramstein, I believe. That's Ramstein, just making sure. Yeah, a couple C-17s in and out. There's your camber flight coming in from Dover, 747. Notice that it got changed to camber. Then when it leaves, it goes back to Coletta. And so that's probably bringing in either large equipment or could have some troops on there. Remember, when it's a camber flight, it could have anything. It's just consider it precious cargo. Okay. All right. Then we go over here to our forward operating base in RZE, and let's pay close attention because we do have quite a few things coming in today. We've got NATO coming in from Berlin. Let's go on down the line. We've got one of the British aircraft in. This is going to be Camber flight right here coming in from Nuremberg. Another Camber flight coming in from Anchorage, Alaska. That's bringing probably replen to that 15% that got smoked on the border. And nothing on the en route. Let's get over here to the outbound, and it looks like we've got NATO going to destination unknown. The Brits headed back to Northern England. Camber flight headed back to Nuremberg, so it looks to be a round trip. National cargo already on the ground, 747. Let's go down a little further and not seeing anything else. So a little bit of an uptick over there at RZE, but it looks to be replen. Remember, this is Ukraine. This is Poland. Forward operating base right here, RZE. And this is where all the replen comes from. So as things get taken out in the fight from Ukraine and Russia, this is where we're bringing it in, put it on rail, and we get it back into the country and give them another asset on your tax dollars to fight a war. All right. And then Western Global looks to be coming out of Hong Kong, headed to Alaska. What's on it? Don't know. But anyway, just a data point. We get over here to Omni, and we've cycled through. Looks like we've got quite a few going on. We've got one from Manchester to Toronto. Again, seems to be a contract going on between the Canadian government and the Omni Air folks. Guam over to Hawaii, Washington Dulles to Fairchild, all right? Alaska. And then we get over to NATO, and I've got one up right now coming out of RZE, all right? So that's, again, destination unknown, probably headed back to its home base operations. And then we go to the Brits, and these boys are everywhere. So we've got them up here in Alaska. We've got them, looks to be north of the border here up in Canada. One leaving Canada, headed back to the UK. Very active, like Omni, with the Brits right now. All right. And then we've got this one, looks to be, that could be, yeah, it's coming out of Cyprus, headed southbound, and we don't know where. And then this one looks to be coming out of, well, it's just to the southern side of the Baltic Sea area. And where is WTN? Let's see. Okay, it's descending. So it came out of England. It's actually looks to be circling around and going to be landing, descending. It's at 36,000 feet, 432 miles an hour. So, all right. Well, that's where we stack up for today. That's going to do it. So I hope you guys have a safe 4th of July. Enjoy your hot dogs and your hamburgers and all the other things that we like to do. And for those folks in England, enjoy your Thanksgiving. And we will see you guys on Wednesday. So that's it. You guys be safe out there. Stay frosty and keep that powder dry for sure. God bless. Monkey out. Thanks for watching, folks. Check out the latest gear and products over at monkeywerxus.com.